Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ina.
I'm Alyssa.
And we are so excited you guys can join us tonight to learn all about what is slowing down metabolism. We are here to help you lose weight and keep it off for good. So, in the next 45 minutes, we're going to show you all of the different factors that affect your metabolism and what you guys can do right now to fix it. We're really confident you're going to walk away with tons of information and a lot of practical tips and tricks on what you can do to feel empowered and make the necessary. So please hang out. Thank you so much for taking the time and hang out with us to the end. We have a really special coupon for you.
Yeah, something we've never done before.
Yeah. So, people always ask Alyssa and I, what is the secret to losing weight?
Yeah.
And I wish I could tell you the secret because there unfortunately is not one thing. And the reason for that is that we are all really different. So the secret is actually, it depends. And it depends on you, on Alyssa, on me. We're all very different. Just like we look different on the outside, we're completely different on the inside. So what's going to work for one person is not going to work for others. We really have to customize and do something that's very, very individual. And that's how we're going to get such awesome results with weight loss.
Yeah, so we're going to get into all of that today and how to know what to do custom for you. That way we can't just give generic answers out today, but there will be Q&A at the end. So Ina and I actually have been working together for nearly 9 years, and we have very different specialties. So with that, we obviously would have two very different paths getting us here as well. Do you want to start? You have a pretty inspirational story of how you got into this.
Absolutely. So I actually got into nutrition because of my own health. And, when I was younger, I was not super healthy. I never ate well. My parents actually always, made me want to eat well. But I remember sneaking McDonald's in when they weren't looking. And in college, I think I lived on Twinkies. And, it caught up with me over the years. And, when I was in my mid-20s, I started to have a lot of health issues. I was getting headaches all the time. I was really, really fatigued. I had a lot of digestive issues. And on top of it all, I had really bad skin. I had acne everywhere. And I didn't have it so much as a teenager, but when I was 25, I had acne. I'm like, what's going on here? And so, it obviously got to the point where it was really affecting my life. So I went to see a doctor and, they did a lot of tests and they said, well, everything looks okay. You're fine. I'm like, okay. I'm like, but I don't feel well. So I went to another doctor and then another doctor. And I got to the point where they were like, everything is fine. I think you're just depressed. And I was explaining to them, hello, people, I'm not depressed. Okay, maybe I'm depressed because I'm not feeling well, but I'm not actually depressed. Like something is going on. And people just weren't listening to me. And I knew, I just kept feeling worse and worse. And I knew that something was going on. And at that point, I found a clinical nutritionist who was also a naturopathic doctor. And he was able to actually explain to me what was going on. We did tons of tests, a little bit different than the traditional medical doctors. And I had mercury poisoning. I had thyroid issues. I had Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition. I had overgrowth of yeast and bacteria. I had food allergies and sensitivities. I mean, you name it, I've had it all. And, it was really interesting because I never realized that my diet and lifestyle were affecting me so negatively. And so we started working on things one by one. And as we started to make changes, I felt so much better. Every day I felt better and better. My skin cleared up, my energy got better, my headaches went away.
It sounds like one of your client success stories.
Yeah. And I work with clients now on all of these things. And so, I just felt so inspired by this. And I thought, wait a minute, if I can help myself, how many other people out there are going to feel this and are going to need this type of advice? And so I went back to school and I was working 2 jobs. I was working my corporate job and going to school. And, I learned everything that I could and started my practice. And 11, actually almost 12 years later, here we are. So that's my story. Now, Alyssa, I know your story is a little bit different. So
a little bit.
I didn't really know I wanted to do nutrition from the beginning, but you knew you wanted to do it since you were a little girl.
Yeah. I actually dreamt of this, and I was challenged by my mother if it was a real job. But hey, mom. So yes, although I work in many areas of nutrition, I specialize in what I'm passionate about. And what I'm passionate about is weight loss, athletic performance, and hormones to optimize metabolism. So really vanity, even though people feel a lot better when they're doing my program as well. So it's a win-win and it's really fun. But like Ina said, I wanted to be a weight loss doctor when I was 13. I remember. So fast forward to college, I was preparing for medical school, and I decided, why don't I just take some nutrition courses? You know, it goes with that whole diet doctor theme that I have in my future. I ended up having a nutrition major, still ready to go to med school, but it was awesome because I got to take all this medical knowledge that I'd gained through the years and pair it with all this nutrition knowledge because I was taking so many nutrition courses. So I think I got an edge for all the kids that were also in my classes because I was coming from this biochem background prior. So with that, I had all these theories and all these ideas for pathways. And this is an area that does not have a lot of funded research. So when you're reading your textbooks and you're just studying like nutrition 101. And if you know a lot about biochemistry in people's bodies, then you can say, hey, wait a minute, there's a lot of missing chapters here. Why don't people lose fat? And that's when I found out there really are no books written on that. So then that became my 20-year-old goal. But so I love it. I have a passion for it. So after college, you know, I did not go to med school. But after school, I worked in research and development for a national food company. I learned a lot there. Then I worked in a hospital, knowing that these were not what I wanted to do, but I learned a lot. And then shortly after, I started working for and then with this highly sought after sports nutritionist. And that was probably the best opportunity I ever had because he worked with professional athletes and he was highly sought after, like I said. So I had access to over 100 clients a week and not only sitting down with them, but I had their charts. And at that young age, I had nothing to do at night but bring those charts home and study them.
Field day for you.
I had nothing else going on. So I nerded out. So I took these home and I found too in practice, like, why do these two people lose weight when they eat this and that one doesn't? And why did these people take that supplement and they get these effects and these don't? So I really came up with a lot of my own theories. I was able to test them out on all of these people before I even branched out on my own. And when I started, you know, I realized I was really on to something, started writing down, and I still have all these crazy notebooks. So this is a true passion of mine. It's a real science and it's not easy. So if you're having trouble losing weight, you cannot be alone because we have a 6-month wait list to get in. It's highly complicated. So we do questions and answers, and with the answers someone gives me, that's how I know what question to ask next. And that's actually what we applied when we put our heads together. So Ina and I took our two specialties because they're so different. We wanted to make it available because we do both have wait lists that exceed 6 months. So rather than someone waiting over 6 months just to get in and meet with us and get started, we wanted to be able to have someone get that gratification so that they don't put it off. So they could sign on, you know, fill out a questionnaire, questions we would ask them, and then they're going to get something similar to what we would give in practice.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of how my custom cleanse was born, you know, because we wanted to put our heads together, like Alyssa was saying, with my specialty in autoimmune and thyroid and digestion and her specialty in fat loss and sports nutrition. You know, we came up with a questionnaire so people then answer the questions and then we're able to make that very custom plan for each person.
We do build every plan that comes through.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of our story. So we just wanted to share that with you so you guys know where we're coming from. And we'll get into the fun stuff now, what's slowing down your metabolism. Now, in order to show you guys how this works and what's really slowing it down, I think that we first need to understand the difference between fat loss and weight loss. A lot of people think it's the same thing, but it's actually a little bit different. So Alyssa, can you explain that, please?
Sure. So a lot of people, when you ask them what's your goal, and you may even get this, although you don't specialize in, people don't come to you for fat loss. They always have a goal weight. Yes. And that's great. They're usually thinking about, you know, the last time they were a certain weight. But the thing is, there's a big difference between weight loss and fat loss. So weight loss is great. And if you do it right, you'll have both. You'll lose fat and the scale goes down. So weight loss, the scale goes down. It doesn't necessarily mean it's fat. It could be fat, muscle, and water. And fat loss is specifically when your body is burning fat. And the reason we're targeting that is what is sustainable. Muscle and water are always fluctuating. So if you were to lose 6 pounds one week and the next week gain 4 back, you'd probably feel like you failed and you might back off your plan, but really you may have lost 2 pounds of fat that week, which is really the goal. So what we like to highlight is the importance there. That way you can have a realistic goal and know that when you're dieting right and you're eating the way you should be, you're going to be burning fat and keeping muscle. So you're not going to lose 10 pounds a week. Let's be real. You're going to lose 2, sometimes more than that in the beginning, but 8 pounds of fat per week, per month is really, really great.
It's really great. It makes such a, I mean, you see that difference.
Yeah, that's a size a month. It's a big deal. And when you're doing it right, you shouldn't feel starving and you shouldn't feel deprived. So before you know it, 3 months go by and you're down 25 pounds. So not bad.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So to get you down to that goal, let's get into the factors of what's slowing things down so that we know what to fix to get you to that goal.
Yeah, why you guys are here.
Right. Exactly. So the first thing that we want to talk about that really sabotages many people is not timing foods properly. So Alyssa, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So timing of foods, that means, when are you eating breakfast? When are you snacking? When are you eating at night? So if you're eating breakfast at the wrong time or you're eating too close to bed or too far from bed, you could be sabotaging your weight loss goals, your fat loss goals. So you could be sabotaging all of your efforts. So I wanted to talk to you about when you should be eating breakfast, when you should stop eating at night, and then signs that you're doing it right all through the middle of the day. So I'm going to give you a test that you can do to figure this out on your own. So in the morning, let's focus on breakfast time. So how to find your ideal breakfast time. Let's first assume that you don't eat within 3 hours of bed. So let's assume you go to bed at 10. Let's say dinner's at 7 and you have to call it quits. This is all a test. So you have to follow directions. So the next day when you wake up, pay attention to the time and be sure to drink 16 ounces of water within that first 30 minutes. Then just pay attention to the clock and take notice of when you start to feel hungry. So if you're up at 6 and maybe you start to feel hungry at 8, write that down because the next day you're going to plan your breakfast and have it all ready by 7:30. So you want to have your breakfast 30 minutes before you get hungry. So many people come to me saying, I know I should eat within the hour I wake up. And that's really common and that's true for some people, but I find it varies and it's not true for everyone. So this is how you can find your ideal time. The goal with breakfast is you want to avoid being hungry. Hungry people make bad decisions.
Definitely.
And if you think you're putting off calories for the day by putting off breakfast, you're not. It's going to come bite you in the butt at a really inconvenient time in the day. So that's your breakfast time. And night eating, which is huge. So some of the clients I work with, they burn fat like crazy when they have a 5-hour gap between eating and bed. So let's just say again, maybe bedtime's 10. And then these people have they have dinner at 5 p.m. So that is an excellent place to start because then you can test, do you get hungry when you're in bed? Do you wake up in the middle of the night if that's abnormal for you? And in the morning, do you wake up craving cake, cookies, things you're usually not craving? So those are 3 tell signs that your blood sugar suffered and you do not do well having a large gap between dinner and bed. So that's good news for night snack people because that means you're not doing anything wrong. You actually have to eat at night. It's better for your blood sugar hormones, which are going to play a big role in your metabolism. So if you did experience those symptoms when you had a big gap between eating and bed, the best thing to do is plan 2 hours before bed. You want to have a lean protein, and the best results come when people do a nutrition shake. Now, this is not a meal replacement like there's so many on the market. We have Essential Base. That's our protein powder. We like it because we taste tested so many and came up with our favorite. But it's vegan. Even if you're not vegan, it tastes great. You can blend it in advance. It's not meal replacement, like I said, so the carbs are really, really low. But blend this with almond milk or cashew milk, unsweetened coconut milk, and you can even add a little cocoa if you want, and have that around like 8 to 9 o'clock. And if you still experience those symptoms, then you're a very special night snack person. You have to add fat, which is like a tablespoon of nut butter, almond butter, cashew butter, and you can have it on celery. So we're getting to more substantial snacks if you start to notice these symptoms even when you do eat in your bed. So that's key. And then the middle of the day, you want to have snacks between meals because you want to be able to eat healthy. And like I said before, hungry people make bad decisions. So how you know you got it right is at 3 hours after a snack or a meal, if you're starting to feel hungry, you nailed it. So that was the perfect snack for you. So if you have an apple and you're starving an hour later, wrong snack. If you have avocado toast and that holds you for 5 hours, wrong snack.
Too long then.
3 hours,
Right. No, that's great.
It's timing.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for explaining that. Timing makes a lot of sense. And that actually brings us to our next factor that could slow down metabolism, and that is going to be improper food combining. So I know that's another biggie. Can you talk about that, please?
That's what I talk about. Everyone. I'm just talking in the beginning, by the way. Penny is going to talk about more
later.
So food combining. So you've probably, heard that protein is good for some people and carbs are good for some people, or maybe you haven't. Maybe you've just heard of Atkins and you've heard of plant-based diets. So juice cleansing and Atkins are just polar opposites, right?
Mm-hmm.
One is all carb and very low calorie, and the other just says, throw calories out the window and it's absolutely no carbs. So this is important because some people do very, very well on carbohydrates and others do very poorly on carbohydrates. An apple has the same amount of calories as a cup of peas and 2.5 ounces of chicken, but that amount of energy is going to be used so differently in me versus you if we lived on apples or lived just on chicken for a day.
Yeah.
So it's really key to know what should you be avoiding if you should be eating less of something. So another test, we don't like to omit an entire food group, but if you have done juice cleansing before and you felt fantastic on it. So first, there could be 2 reasons. One, you're a carb person and you do very well on carbs. We'll get back to that. Second, you have very poor digestion, and the less stress on your digestive system just makes you feel so much better. Maybe you're bloated and gassy and you have actual pain every time you eat. You would naturally feel better, right?
By just taking that burden off digestion, for sure.
So once you rule that out, though, if that's not you, then you actually do well on carbohydrates. So something like brown rice and quinoa and sweet potatoes and fruit, those are great for you. And my tip for you would be to avoid having more than 25% of fat as your total calories for the day, because I find that carb types don't do well going over 25% fat. Mm-hmm. Now, for the opposite, those who have done Atkins or keto and they feel fantastic, like their head's more clear, they have better energy, their sleep is better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sleep's better, and they feel leaner. Then you are the person who does well on a low carb diet. That doesn't mean you can't have any. My recommendation to start would just be to have it around a workout, and that would be after a workout, not before. Mm-hmm. So that's where your foods could be wrong, just on an emphasis. Now, here's the biggie and my big secret. Combining wrong, like Ina said before. So you could be eating very healthy. If you combine 2 groups together that shouldn't be together, you're going to store fat. So what do you think pizza, bread and butter, and cake have in common? Besides the word bad. Besides being bad, they're all high in carbohydrates and sugar and fat. Okay, no brainer there. Well, what about avocado toast or a bean salad? So avocado toast, that's carbs and fat. And a bean salad, that's carbs and fat. So believe it or not, those are 2 things that I actually do not promote in practice or with the cleanse. What you're doing there is you're giving your body gasoline. If you're a car, you're putting gas in an electric car. And the goal really is to need to go to the gas station every few hours. That way your body runs on fumes a little bit and has to go to the stored body fat, which is inconvenient. So really you want to avoid pairing even healthy carbohydrates and fat.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good point. Thank you for that. And I have to tell you, there's so many people that come in and say, I eat avocado toast. I'm doing so well. I'm so healthy. But I'm not losing any weight. Why not? So, yeah, that happens all the time. So it's a really great point. Thank you. So next, let's talk about the third factor that slows down metabolism. It's actually one of my favorites, and that's toxins.
Favorite.
Yes. So toxins are stored in our fat cells. A lot of people don't realize that. And that's the reason why it slows down your metabolism. So our bodies are really smart. So think of it this way. We're exposed to toxins every day. Now, of course, if we live a cleaner lifestyle, let's say we're eating organic and we're trying to use products that are on our body and our household products that are clean, that's great. But we're still exposed to things because there's thousands of chemicals that are introduced into our environment every single day that unfortunately get approved. There's stuff in the air, there's stuff in the water. So even if we try, we can't live completely in a bubble. Yeah. So we're going to be exposed to toxins. So because our body is really smart, it's saying, all right, well, toxins are coming in. Let me take these toxins. Let me put them away somewhere where it's like not so important. Guess what's not so important? Your fat cells. So the toxins get stored there because, it's far away from your blood. It doesn't really hurt you so much. So it's in there. Now, what's going to happen when you start doing a new diet and you start to do a new exercise routine, right? You want to lose fat. So the body needs to let go of those fat cells. So what is the body going to do? Is it going to say, hey, we have all of these toxins in these fat cells. I don't want to let go of them because where am I going to put them? If we let go of these fat cells, they're going to go into your bloodstream. Guess what? That's going to make you sick. When you become toxic, you're going to feel sluggish, you're going to feel foggy, you're going to have headaches. Your body knows that, right? So it's just trying to protect you. So it's going to hold on to those fat cells for dear life. So the more toxins that you have in your body, obviously the more you're going to hold on to fat. So that's why detoxification is so, so important to help a sluggish liver. And then, things that you can also do in addition to detoxification is you want to try to see how we can put in less toxins. So like we mentioned before, eating organic if possible, especially meat and dairy, because unfortunately the animals are fed antibiotics and hormones and who knows what else. And, it's in the meat, it's in the milk that they produce. So you can't wash it off like you can with some fruits and vegetables. You also really want to look at all your skincare products and your cleaning products. There are so many different chemicals out there, but you know what, guys? There's so many wonderful products out there. You can go onto the Environmental Working Group's website, and they have a really nice database where you can enter your skincare household products, and they rate it on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being low and safe, and 10 being high and toxic.
Well, just to bring this up,
Yeah.
so if someone is using all, let's just say, generic sale items, although like who doesn't look for a deal, you could actually be slowing down your metabolism just by letting these things coming in. You're thinking, oh, it's just a lotion, it's not a big deal, but it adds up.
Of course it does. Absolutely. Yeah. And because you absorb all of that through your skin.
You don't think about it that way at the store.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. And so here's another one, and I'm not sure if you guys know this because this was actually something that I just learned myself a couple of years ago. When you go to the coffee shop and you get your steaming hot coffee or tea, and then they put that plastic lid on it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know how the beverage is really, really hot. So what happens? The steam, right? The heat from the beverage is going to go up and hit the plastic lid. Mm-hmm. And that really thin plastic, that's the worst kind of plastic. So that plastic,
you check the number on it?
Of course.
I did not know that.
That's my job.
This is a problem.
So then literally it's going to melt that plastic. It's the steam from that is going to drip back down right into your beverage. And then what are you doing? You're drinking that plastic, which is really high in PCBs, which is a pretty nasty toxin. So easy thing you can do. You don't have to give up your coffee. Just don't use the lid. Or you can bring one of these things and, stainless steel or glass. Styrofoam I don't really like, but one of the stainless steel ones is the best, and then have them fill it up. So really, really easy fix, but that's a really big thing. And if you think about it, most people drink 1 or 2 hot beverages a day. So that really adds up. And then another thing is, if you use anything on your lawn, and actually maybe even if you don't, but a lot of times your neighbor may be using Roundup, or we have services for grass that people use. So the active ingredient in that is glyphosate, which is super duper toxic. So obviously we can't control what our neighbors do. So I always recommend to my patients, take your shoes off when you walk in the door, because you could be stepping on someone else's lawn, or maybe your lawn that's using these chemicals. And then especially if you have carpet in the house, you go your shoes with carpet, your kid may be laying on the carpet doing their homework, and now they're exposed to it and it absorbs through their skin.
Yeah.
So easy things you guys could do to change.
Yeah, and liver is so big in fat loss, and I'm sure most of you have heard of a liver cleanse before, but there's big differences in liver cleanses.
Mm-hmm.
So GNC online, Dr. So-and-so's liver cleanse. The key is, though, you need to pair the right herbs and the right ingredients to get the right cleanse effect. So with that, it's like we all know better. We wouldn't wear snow boots with a tank top and, ski goggles all in the same day. That's silly. Right. But to Ina and I, pairing certain supplements together is just as ridiculous, because we know that's not enough milk thistle to do anything.
Right.
And, where's the antioxidants to balance, because they just really push the cytochrome pathway. So now they're going to have a toxic overload. So seek professional advice when you're doing a liver cleanse. So how you need a liver cleanse, because some people will really benefit from it and they'll burn fat, others won't. Mm-hmm. So if you take Advil, prescription medication, if you take antibiotics, or maybe in the past you had a lot of antibiotics, mm-hmm. artificial sweeteners, alcohol, so that means Splenda, diet soda, preservatives, dyes, non-organic foods, like Ina was saying, you don't use all organic products. The truth is, none of us live in a bubble. Right. Everyone can benefit. The question is, to what extent? So if you're not burning fat well, if you have dull headaches, if you wake up in the middle of the night, these are all signs that you actually really need a liver cleanse. Right. If you have the dad belly, and by that I mean that hard belly, it's not so much all fat, it's just a hard, happy belly, mm-hmm. that is liver. You need a liver cleanse, as I say to people I know. Yeah. Discolored eyes too. When your eyes are not bright white, you need a liver cleanse. If you take antihistamines seasonally and you rely on Advil, whether you due to exercise or the headaches, that's it. Itchy palms, cholesterol levels are dictated by the thyroid. And of course, excessive and strange and new body odor. That's a sign. Think of a hangover when someone smells. And then high liver enzymes in your blood work. So the reason that this is also important, besides what Ina said about the fat cells being so toxic, is your liver plays a big role in what your body does with energy, meaning calories. So when you eat food, your liver plays a large role in saying, all right, are we going to use this energy right now, which is ideal. That means you're not storing. Are we going to put it away, but within arm's reach, which means blood sugar? Or are we going to save it for a rainy day, which is store fat? And then what's worse is when your body needs energy, a few hours later and you haven't eaten. I know hungry people think, oh, I'm hungry. I'm burning fat right now. No, you might not be, especially if you have the headaches and you're waking up in the middle of the night and you have all these symptoms of slow liver. So then your liver signals the body to go elsewhere. And it doesn't actually go to stored body fat as the energy source. So that, again, is why liver is so important. And with blood sugar, that feeds into hormones because your blood sugar controls hormones. So what I like to point out to clients, of course, hormones play a big role in fat loss. Think of puberty, pregnancy, and menopause. Those are 3 hormonal shifts in a woman's life specifically where she anticipates weight gain. So if you throw off your hormones at another time in your life, not necessarily one of those 3, you're going to have the same weight issues. Right. What hormones have you noticed have the biggest effect on fat loss?
So the biggest ones are going to be the sex hormones, so estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and thyroid hormones. And, with sex hormones, I find that it's not necessarily the exact levels of those hormones, but it's all about the balance.
Yeah, and the relativity.
Yeah, and specifically with estrogen to the other hormones. So when there's more estrogen than, say, progesterone, we call that estrogen dominance, meaning that you have more estrogen in the body. And what we know is that when your estrogen is too high and you have estrogen dominance, you don't burn fat. It's just plain and simple. You don't burn fat.
Yeah.
So, with that, Alyssa, can you tell our listeners what are some symptoms of estrogen dominance, how they would know if they are in fact estrogen dominant?
Yeah. I mean, you and I have had this discussion so many times where we run into each other's office with blood work and we're like, look at these levels. And we talk about symptoms. So a big thing that people don't realize, so birth control pill is estrogen. And women, and so many women when they're constipated, they don't think it's a big deal. If you don't go to the bathroom every day and you're taking birth control pill, you're recycling the estrogen because the estrogen is supposed to leave through your feces. It gets recycled in the colon. That's not good because levels are building and building and building up. So one sign, obviously, of higher estrogen is not losing weight. And if you're on the pill and you're constipated, you can bet your bottom dollar that's playing a role.
Yeah, double whammy.
Yeah, clear skin. Although it's a blessing, like I wish I had absolutely perfect skin, but from a weight loss perspective, I don't because I know that really high estrogen, like during pregnancy, is how you get it. Yeah. That having headaches around your period is huge. Not sweating much. So if you're the girl in spin class who works your butt off and you get a workout, but you don't really sweat, that's a sign of high estrogen as well. Bloating, extremely high water retention, and also noticing that your period is shorter, like your cycles. If cycles are about 3 weeks, I notice that those women tend to have high estrogen as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And also, like Alyssa said, some of the ways we can get estrogen. So birth control pill is definitely one of the big factors, but then also food sources. So we had talked about meat and dairy for toxins. Same kind of thing for estrogens because those animals are injected with hormones and then it's in the meat and in the dairy products. Yeah. And then the xenoestrogens are basically estrogens that come from environmental sources. So a lot of the plastics are really high in xenoestrogens, and parabens is another compound that's found in skincare products. And you guys probably have seen a lot of products now say paraben free, which is fantastic, but unfortunately a lot of them still have it. So please do look at your products because if you're using them on a daily basis, it's going to absolutely contribute to having estrogen dominance.
Yeah.
So let's then talk about our next factor that slows down metabolism, and that is our stress hormone cortisol. So you guys probably have heard about cortisol before. When you have high cortisol, I wanted to just give you guys some signs so that you know if you have that. So if you have inconsistent sleep, especially if you have a hard time falling asleep, but you also wake up in the middle of the night, especially between 2 and 4 a.m., once a night, or maybe even more than once a night. If you feel tired all the time, if you also feel very stressed and you have a lot of anxiety, and sometimes people also describe this as sort of that like tired and wired feeling,
Yeah.
that's also a sign that something is going on with cortisol. So cortisol is your stress response, and it's what we call the fight or flight. So that's when your body goes into fight or flight mode, where it's trying to either fight off or run away from some type of an emergency. But really, back in the day in the caveman times, we had these types of emergencies. Now our life is different. There's no emergencies in such a way, but for us, it's more, okay, we have a deadline at work, or there's a family issue, and our body goes into that state where it's really not a life and death types of emergency. But we understand that obviously things happen in life and we can't change our life. So sometimes there's certain stressors that we just can't control, though we do always recommend, trying to get good sleep, meditation, relaxation, exercise. But again, there's certain things we understand you can't control. But there are physical stressors that we can do a lot about. And so what I find is one of the biggest things that's a physical stressor is blood sugar dysregulation. So what that means is if you're not controlling your blood sugar, meaning that you're not eating properly or following some of the rules that Alyssa talked about earlier, where let's say you're eating way too many carbs and not balancing it properly with either fat or protein or whatever is necessary for your body, your blood sugar is going to go up, down, rather than staying more balanced. And every time that happens, your body has to work overtime to regulate it. And that's a huge stressor. It makes cortisol go up. And as that happens, when cortisol is high, literally everything stops, including fat burning.
Yeah.
So everything in your body works backwards. Think of it that way. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So do you have anything else to add about cortisol?
No, because you covered it, but I know that I guess I would just say that we look at cortisol in just about every case that we have in practice. So people come to us when they just can't figure it out. They've gone to every specialist and they've tried everything on their own. So when you've done a liver cleanse, if you've paid attention to the timing that you're eating and you're watching the macronutrients and the estrogen doesn't necessarily apply to you, you should really look into the cortisol, because it does play a huge role in your metabolism for all the reasons that Ina said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the last factor we want to talk about, but certainly not least, is your digestion. So how does digestion affect metabolism, you ask? Well, you guys, in more ways than you probably can imagine.
Yeah.
So first, with digestion, you guys may have heard of the microbiome, which is basically the balance of all the different bacteria that we have in our intestines. And so we're all supposed to have some bacteria that's good, some bacteria that's bad. The key is for those to be in good balance. So as long as the good and the bad are living happily together, we're okay. If, though, we have more bad and not enough good, and that's something that happens really often from either taking antibiotics or taking certain other medications like NSAIDs, like Advil, steroid use, eating certain foods, specific foods higher in carbohydrates.
What about people going on those GERD medications when they don't need to?
Exactly.
Doctors just saying, like, just take it. Just take the Prilosec.
Prilosec, Nexium. Yeah, exactly. So when that happens, the bad bacteria, the bad yeast, parasites, a lot of these things start to overgrow and the good guys die down. And taking probiotics is wonderful, of course, but in some cases, the bad bacteria can have really like a big leg up, and probiotics may not be enough, and that's when doing very specific digestive cleansing can be really, really helpful. But how that's linked to your metabolism is that your neurotransmitters are actually produced in the gut. So neurotransmitters are things like serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine. A lot of these things are going to regulate your mood, but also your cravings. So a lot of people are going to crave sugary foods, fatty foods, unhealthy foods, because the neurotransmitters are in balance, and they're in balance because the gut is off. So that's that relationship between gut infection and metabolism. The other thing is that when you have these infections, and I'm talking about the bacteria, the parasites, the yeast, and we all have it to some degree, it's just some people have it to a lot of a higher degree, then that is also stress to the body, because any type of chronic infection like that, your immune system is trying to fight it, but it can't because it's chronic. It's been going on for a long time. And so the immune system is just going at it, and that creates a lot of stress, which then is going to bring up cortisol. And that goes back to the point we just talked about earlier, where cortisol, when that's high, you stop burning fat. So it's kind of like a double whammy with digestion and cortisol. Yeah.
So what would you say is key? If someone can't lose weight and they have really poor digestion, what's the first thing that they should probably do just to stimulate and give it a shot without like coming to see you and doing all the testing?
I mean, the first thing I would say is you need to really cut out a lot of the potentially allergenic foods from your diet. So those would be things like gluten, dairy, for some people, soy, corn. Yeah.
Those are like the top things. Start there.
Yeah, exactly. Start there just to kind of clean things up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, if possible, do something to help to cleanse out even if it's something broad spectrum, to cleanse out some of the bacteria.
We love our full cleanse that gives the food plan and everything, but we have a kit, it's a custom kit, and it's called the Bloated Girl Cleanse.
I love that name.
Yes. And that was because we were finding that people were asking us or emailing us, like, what product can I take because I have all these symptoms? And we thought, well, geez, it's just like the analogy of someone putting on like snow boots and a tank top and, snow goggles that day. It's silly. We wanted to give people the synergistic right combinations, and the Bloated Girl Cleanse or Bloated Girl Kit really has the synergistic blend to get rid of digestive issues, make sure that you're not constipated, and just like flatten the belly.
Right.
So that might be a good idea too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then the other thing too, just thinking about all of this is, not properly breaking down the food. So if you have, some of this overgrowth, and sometimes people may not even have overgrowth, if they just have a really low enzymes, really weak digestion, that also kind of goes into the digestive category, and how that can slow down your metabolism is, if you think about it, let's just say you're eating really healthy. So, you're having grilled chicken with a little bit of sweet potato and lots of veggies, you're keeping your fat low, you're doing everything right, but you're not digesting things well. So you're eating these amazing foods with lots and lots of nutrients, and guess what? They're coming right out. You're not getting those nutrients. So if you don't get those nutrients in, then they're not going to go into your body to then work to help your metabolism.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Luckily, things like Doritos, they're already pre-broken down, so you absorb every calorie from something like that.
Yeah.
But the healthy things are what you don't break down. If you have terrible digestion, you just send off all these stress alarms.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Exactly. Yeah. And so this all, you guys, comes from an unbalanced microbiome. And so how do we know that the microbiome is off? Well, if you've taken antibiotics even once, that can lead to a deficiency in some of the good guys. If you've taken birth control pill, if you have digestive issues like gas and bloating, and by the way, that's not normal. A lot of people say, oh, but having a little gas is normal. Doesn't everyone?
I have one bowel movement a week. Normal. No,
yeah,
not okay.
It may be normal for you, but that's not okay. You need to be eliminating once a day or more.
Or more.
Better, but at least once a day.
Yes.
Yeah. And so if you have constipation or diarrhea, also if you feel full after meals, a lot of people say, when I eat, I feel like food just kind of like sits on my stomach. And
like uncomfortable.
Yeah. So that's another sign that something's going on digestively that can lead to slow metabolism.
So you need to go after your digestion if that's you. That is playing a big role in your inability to lose fat if things are slowing down.
Right. Exactly. And, these things also can make you actually sensitive to food. So you may never have a food allergy initially when you were younger, or food sensitivity, but when you have this overgrowth, it actually breaks down your intestinal lining and then creates what we call leaky gut. And that's kind of a whole bunch of stuff that we don't really have time to go into today.
Yeah.
But what you guys need to know is that when you have a microbiome that's not balanced well, then there's a very good chance you could become sensitive to foods, even very healthy foods, such as broccoli or rice. I mean, it could really be anything.
Yeah, things you've been eating a lot of too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So that was a mouthful, huh?
No, I think we did it pretty good timing, and we've gone into so much, but I know that we want to show you a few success story pictures. We have some pictures of that, and then we're going to get into just a deal, our coupon and the code, and what we're going to give.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do questions and answers. So this won't take long. Let me just...
Yeah, and while Alyssa is pulling that up, I just want to say that, as we talked about initially, it obviously is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And, just want to tell you guys, we're here to help, so you don't have to do it by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So we have some success story pictures, and we'll just page through them. So this is someone that we worked with for about 9 months. Someone who just, they found a plan that worked for them and they just kept applying it. She actually made the cover of a magazine because of her story being so inspirational, which was awesome. But she was down 150 pounds. And naturally, when you lose that much weight, not everyone has that much weight to lose. When you have that much weight to lose, you'll lose some muscle. But I think, she did a test. You guys can test your fat, muscle, water, You can test it at most of your gyms. I think even a YMCA does like water weighing tests.
Yeah.
She was only down 15 pounds of muscle throughout that entire thing. So it was fantastic because it showed her that she was burning fat. You know, the way she was eating was ideal and sustainable. And that after picture was 2 years ago. And she still looks like that. So that is so inspirational. I love that. Yeah. Oops. All right. This person, one of my favorites, she has to stay or their face hidden, but that's fine. So this is just 3 months apart. And if you can see, it's a big difference. Different dress, but similar. And she looks fantastic. She still follows her plan, but I haven't seen her in a while, but she sent these to me and was so happy to share them. So that's fantastic. Here's one of our star success stories too. The picture on the left was kind of like post-baby, obviously not right after a baby, but then she just picked up her eating and like got very diligent. She's been eating the same way now for, I think, a year. And that is truly what she looks like on the right. That is not Photoshop. Now, clearly, with abs and muscles like that, she goes to the gym, guys. Not everyone who does our plans and works with us goes to the gym like that. But when you are eating right and working out, you will get those results. It's definitely 80-20 food exercise, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, food big time.
Yeah.
And this, we have really nice guy. So he's down about 40 pounds. And as you can see on the left, just like kind of average Joe. And on the right, I don't know if you can see like the difference because he did shirtless, but it's a huge difference. There's ab definition, his belly button's flat. That takes a long time for that to happen. So he's done fantastic. And we have Tiffany, who's done amazing. She is down 80 pounds. And once again, just follows the plan. The plan is livable, so it's not like she's struggling, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And here we have someone who's actually wearing the same sweater in the beginning and in his after photo. He so proudly showed me this before and after. I think these were a few months apart. Obviously, he's in the film industry, so that was him on set, and that was him going to work proudly in his shirt that was now super loose on him. So he's done a lot of weight too. Once again, he knows the plan that works for him, and he just sticks with it. There's no reason to stop. So super proud of our success stories, and we always love when people send us more, but we wanted to keep it short and sweet for you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for the questions. So check out the deal that you'll be getting, and we'll be looking forward to making your cleanse.
Yep. And if you guys have any questions, you can also email us at answers@mycustomcleanse.com. If you think of any questions after this, you can also like us on Facebook. You can post your questions on our Facebook wall. We're also doing video blogs.
All right. If you have questions, go sign up. Make sure you're signed up at our blogs at the bottom of mycustomcleanse.com, because weekly you'll see us on a video.
Yeah, and we're doing
2 minutes.
2 3-minute videos, really short, but it's the questions people post on our Facebook, and then also just questions that we get a lot in practice that we figured if these, everyone's going to want to know these answers if so many people are asking. So we'll be talking about them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
Bye.
Bye.